The St. Paul Ice Show was this past weekend, and it was my first time making it to the ice show. And sitting here on Sunday night, getting the podcast put together, just reflecting back on it, and it's just amazing where we are at today in the fishing world and all the gear and products and people that are involved with the fishing industry. It is a very unique, diverse, and interesting group of family, friends, and competitors, and it was a good eye opening experience to see what all takes place, all the craze, all the excitement over ice fishing, which was pretty cool to witness. And we were fortunate enough to be able to hook up with Greg Clagio. So I think I said it right. And it was a really good chat. It was a short chat, but it was a good chat nonetheless. Just picking his brain. He's been in the industry for many years, and just kind of understanding of where he came from, what's happening now, and I guess kind of what's going to be happening in the future. So I really think you'll enjoy this podcast episode. It's short. It's only about 24 minutes long. I could have talked with Greg and Jared and Matt much longer, but it's kind of tough because there's a lot of things happening during the show. So maybe down the road we'll have another opportunity to sit down with Greg. But this, I think, will give you a good little taste of who Greg is, and Greg's the kind of guy, from just the little bit amount of time that I spent with him, of who I want to be like when I grow up. And I know that might sound a little cheesy, but and on his Facebook profile, I think it says an old grizzled fisherman or something along those lines. But you can tell he's been there, he's done that, he's been in the world of ice fishing, and it's good to see his perspective on it. So, and I think you'll enjoy his perspective as well. So we'll get this going. Real quick, I just want to say thanks to Artistic Taxidermy for supporting us. Joshua Lynn from Artistic Taxidermy has a tidbit for any anglers that are going to be out this winter and you catch a fish that you want to mount. He's got a tip to share with you on what to do and what the best practice is. So here's Josh.
Hey, it's Josh Lynn of Artistic Taxidermy with your tip of the week. Ice fishing season is upon us. One thing I like to keep in my ice fishing bucket is a roll of saran wrap. It takes up very little space, and if I'm lucky enough to catch that trophy fish, it works great to wrap it tight from nose to tail, protecting the fins and skin, ensuring a specimen that is in great shape. I'm Joshua Lynn of Artistic Taxidermy. Like us on Facebook at Artistic Taxidermy in Detroit Lakes.
Good, we got it running. So we'll start off. All right, folks, here we are. We are doing episode number 5 of the Outdoor Report podcast, and we are sitting here live at the St. Paul Ice Show, and we have what we could claim to be one of the world's most interesting man in the ice fishing industry, Greg. And I've been saying your name wrong.
Tell me how you think it's going to go.
Clagio.
You're wrong.
I am wrong, and I've been told I was wrong.
On the Iron Range, where I'm from, in the Hibbing area, they say Clagio. But it's from Quebec. It's Clouseau.
Right.
Yeah.
Spelling-wise, it looks
somewhere
like that.
Yeah.
But say it again the right way.
Clagio.
Clagio. So, Greg,
you're forgiven.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I had to get that out there because a couple people said, you're saying it wrong. I'm like, I understand, but I wanted to at least get with you, so I got it right.
You're doing good. Clagio.
Clagio.
That close enough.
Close. Better than what I was. But, well, thanks for taking the time to chat with us. For those of you that don't know, and if you're listening to Facebook or YouTube right now, you'll see the picture that Greg and Eric did of Greg representing or replicating the most interesting man in the world, the Dos Equis commercial. So Greg's helped us on the Outdoor Report. He's been fun to play with. You and Eric have hooked up a couple different times.
Oh, yeah, I did some filming. And
What have you done with Eric on that end of it?
Well, the one time he was up there filming with Chip Lear on one of my little back guiding lakes, and Eric tripped over the tongue of the sled and went down with this expensive camera.
Yep.
And Chip looked all concerned. Once I saw Eric was okay, I said, "Down goes Frazier," like Howard Cosell, and I broke the mood. And Chip's laughing and Eric's laughing, but that's a memorable event. I'll tell you that.
Well, Eric must have came up with the most interesting man in the world to
Oh,
have
he
you.
must have. He called me and he goes, "Hey, I don't want to offend you, but you remind me a lot of the Dos Equis guys." I just laughed. I said, "Well, I don't care. It doesn't bother me." He goes, "Would it be okay if I took a picture of you and we worked with it?" And I said, "Yeah, fine."
Yep.
So in the meantime, we set a date, like 2 weeks, he's going to come up. So I ran around trying to find the right kind of clothes, that kind of a suit, which I didn't have. And I had to go to the Goodwill. I'm standing there trying on all these different suits and laughing to myself. They probably thought, what's with this guy? Well, I found the right suit. And then I didn't have a watch. So I went and got the cheapest one I could find. Great big thing. I bought it at Walmart, $7, which is still sitting on the shelf at home. And then I don't smoke, and I went to the tobacco store and I bought seconds.
You really went in all out?
Oh
to
yeah,
get
I
it
bought
going,
this
yeah.
big cigar so I could hold that like the Dos Equis guy. You know?
And then he came up and you guys
He did. He
did
drove
the photo shoot.
like, gee, it's a long ways. It's like a couple hundred miles. He drove
Right.
to my house just for a couple hours of film or taking pictures, and we had a good time.
I think it was worth it.
Yeah, it come out good. We had a lot of fun.
So the main reason I wanted to get with Greg is, number one, I never met you, so I at least wanted just to at least say hi
And you too, and I'm glad it's happening.
You bet. And you've been a trailblazer and an innovator, from what I've been told, in the ice fishing industry. So that's kind of why I wanted to at least pick your brain a little bit and kind of understand where you came from. And again, folks, if you're hearing chatter in the background, we are out kind of an open public area at the show. It's kind of hard to find a spot. So if you hear some background chatter, that's what you're hearing. But I wanted to get a sense of how you got into ice fishing.
You know, it's a family that was raised in the country and enjoyed the outdoors, whether hunting or fishing or whatever. We spent our whole childhood outdoors. So I can remember my first summer fishing event. I can remember fishing with my dad on a little lake, and it was a 12-foot crest liner, aluminum. And every fish we got, he'd hold it, bullheads,
Fishing bullheads.
as fast as you could catch them. He'd put the bullhead under his foot to remove the hook, and he'd bait me up, and I'd drop it back over. Well, pretty soon we didn't have a bucket to put them in. The whole bottom of that boat was flopping with bullheads, just flapping away. I'll never forget that. But as far as ice fishing, we had cabins on lakes north of Grand Rapids, Big Bear Lake, and nice crappies used to be in there. And we go out there with jig sticks. You know, we called them our jig sticks. I mean, there's Dacron line. They were about as big around as a broom handle with like a nail in the end. You just stick them in the ice. And the lake was shallow, so we set it about what everybody would say, 1 arm length or 2 arm lengths. And we never had electronics. I'm amazed we even caught fish. But we did. We did real good.
Yep.
And then when it was slow, we were throwing the football around, you know, like most kids would do.
Right. Yep.
No, I've been fishing and hunting as long as I can remember.
So who got you into the fishing, hunting on your end?
I think my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a hunter, fisherman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he's 89 years old and he's still going strong. He finally stopped hunting. So
Sure.
I hope I have that longevity.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool to hear. So you're growing up, your dad got you into fishing, hunting. At what point did you think to yourself, I really want to focus in on fishing and getting into the industry, and what caused you to go that direction?
It was just the love of fishing. I just loved to do it so much. Every waking moment that I wasn't working, I'd be out there fishing. And it was just one of those things. I remember as a kid, my cousin and I, this is on Buck Lake where I grew up on a lake, we'd take turns. One of us would run the motor if we had one, or otherwise he would row the thing. And the other guy would stand up in the boat and look, and you could see largemouth bass, big ones. And the red and white Bassarino, it's all we needed. We'd cast out in front of them, and we'd get these 4-pound fish. And it was just too easy. Now the lake has aged where you can't even get near shore within 50 yards. It's all weeds. So that was a long time ago.
Sure.
But that's how I started off fishing.
So then what point did you jump over then to getting into the industry?
Well, I always wanted to guide. I thought that'd be a glamorous way to make some money, you know, and I always worked a full-time job too. And I was working for my dad's logging company back then. And I had a nice boat. I had probably one of the first boats in the area that had a live well. It was a 16-foot Crestliner with a live well. You know,
Fancy.
I was
You're
really
getting fancy.
sporting. Yeah, with a 25-horse motor on it. That's all I could afford. But I use, you know, working with my dad, and anytime a little bit of rain or something, we couldn't work. I'd bail and I'd be fishing. He'd see me going by with the boat. Yeah, it's too wet to work, but you can fish, you know. But that it's just driven toward the sport of fishing. I just couldn't stay away from it. Then I got good enough, especially with ice fishing. I got good enough at it where I thought, I know so much more than the average guy around here. I could teach them. I was probably the only one in the area with a Vexilar back then. And
What age are you here? When is that?
it
What
was
year?
in mid 80s.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, or maybe before.
So
Oh, it
Vexilars
was early 80s.
just came out. Is that,
Yeah,
that
it was
about
a
that
long
era? I
time
wouldn't
ago.
know. Is that kind
Yeah,
of
there
when
was a Hondex, and you know, it changed names a couple times, but the Vexilar. Actually, Dave Gens, when he first made the fish trap, we invited him up. He became a friend of mine, a good friend. Still to this day, I saw him here at the show this morning. We'd invite him up to do seminars, and he'd bring his fish trap up, and it had a plywood floor or something that was made at his house, you know, and he was selling them and here and there, and that's how I got into it. I got to know him, and he gave me my first half a dozen fish houses probably.
really
And
he
he's
gave them to you?
Yep.
Really? Wanted you to use them to take them out and try them out, or?
Oh yeah, when I started guiding, and then I got these fish houses all the time. But and then he got me onto the Vexilar too.
Nice.
Are you on now?
Yeah, we're on it. So, to the audience that's listening, we told the other fellow outdoor reporters that were at the show that if you wanted to come crash the podcast and be part of the conversation, you're more than welcome to do so. So, Jared Houston just came here from Houston's Guide Service. So, he just sat down with his luscious locks of hair, and he looked a little exhausted.
You didn't really invite him, did you?
I did.
First of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to sit next to Mr. Clausio. I think is an awesome guy for the industry. He's been around a lot, and has a lot to learn from the guys that have experience on the ice.
Well, I've got years.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have done the question and answer thing, kind of been talking, but
Greg's giving us a rundown of just him getting into the industry.
yeah, how many years ago was that?
Yeah, it was over 30. And it all started with Dave Gens as far as the ice fishing industry. He came up and he'd give seminars, and he got me going with fish traps, and they had plywood floors, and he made them at home and all that. And back then, I didn't have a Vexilar. The first flasher I had, actually, it was a 100-foot scale Lowrance that was in that fish hawk.
Okay.
You know? And so there I am fishing like 20 feet of water with that 100-foot scale. But it worked. I had a little tripod that I made, and I set that transducer there. And then Dave came along, and I never even heard of a Vexilar until Dave came along. But he got me started, and I knew so much more than the average Joe at that time that I thought I can do some guiding. I know I can. Well, I started, and I think on a personal level, as far as taking people out with their own fish trap, their own Lowrance, or their Vexilar, or whatever they had, I was the first one in the area to do that on a personal level.
Yep.
And I always said I looked like a band of gypsies going across the lake, because you've got a truck and you're pulling a trailer and all this equipment. Sometimes there was 4 or 5 fish houses and heaters. I had more into it than I made, I can tell you that. But it was fun.
Yeah.
I like doing it.
Exactly. So, with being at the show here, obviously it's all about technology and products. And what was it? So we have so much stuff now that you can use, technology-wise, and back then you had nothing.
Oh yeah.
Tell me more about that transition of when that stuff started coming out and how it changed your way of approaching the whole fishing industry.
I think the biggest thing was electronics. Definitely. It was just amazing that we could see fish below us. I mean, you know, we'd drill holes, and back then we never even had a good auger. But when we first started,
What'd you use?
I remember we had an old spoon auger, one of those old, my buddy got it out of his dad's barn. We didn't check it. We get out there and it was so dull. I was pushing on the top of it while he turned. And it took so long, I wore a hole in my leather glove. And by the end, we drilled 2 holes, one for each of us. We never caught any fish that day. But I'll never forget that.
Well, because it probably took you all day to get the hole drilled.
Oh, we were exhausted.
Let alone you can't do some Swiss cheese holes, right? You can only get 1 or 2.
You know, and then back then I couldn't afford an auger. The first power auger I won in a fishing contest.
Sure.
And I was getting all these free shelters from Dave Gens. So I was set up pretty good. I don't know if I ever got any free Vexilars. I probably did.
What was the big thing like after the Vexilar came out? What was next? That was revolutionary. That really changed the way that you played the game.
Well, then they started creating better fishing rods. You know, way back when, there wasn't a lot.
What were you using then?
Oh, I have to think.
Was those rods
Oh,
with
you
the
remember-
pegs, right? You had the pegs on the reel by the
Oh, we had plenty of those with the pegs and the sticks, you know. But
What was the point of the little needle at the end of the
when you're
stick?
done, you stick it in the ice. So it,
Oh,
yeah.
so you just stick that. There it is.
Oh, there it is. We call it the stupid stick. But it worked. We, honest to God, to a Dacron line, probably 25, 30 pound Dacron line, and you tie a hook on there and wait for the bobber to go down.
Jeez.
Yeah. And we caught fish. It's remarkable. But, see, what else? Oh, remember those? I don't know if you can't remember, but you've seen them. They're about 18 inches long, and they were made by Rapala or Normark. There was like a little, like a thrumming rod. It was a metal reel. And you used to kind of squeeze this little lever, and the rod tip would go up and down.
Okay. I don't remember seeing those.
I remember having one of those, and I thought that was a cat's meow. I'm really high tech.
Things are going plain.
Oh, yeah. But no, you know, it just gradually evolved.
Sure.
Good fishing rods.
Sure.
Me working for Tuned Up today and Tuned Up custom rods, you go from stupid sticks to Tuned Up custom rods. And,
Yep.
But it took me 30 some years to do
Sure.
it.
I think that's the most popular thing happening right now is the custom rod industry, not just the Tuned Up, but the JT and
all
the
of them.
DH and Ace, and I mean, just that's probably the #1 selling thing at today's show, and the last couple of years at the shows.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I give Dave all this credit. All of a sudden, there's better rods. Every fish house company, there's better fish houses. They all evolve. They didn't want to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
You know, so now you got a lot to pick from.
Yeah.
What do you think? So we were sitting here today with all this technology. Where's it going?
Boy, it makes you wonder.
You know, what's next?
I remember when the Vexilar first got popular, there was people that wanted to outlaw it. It was unbelievable. I'd go in a crowd of people, there'd be 50 people out there, and there might be only 2 of us that had them. And we're catching fish hand over fist. I mean, it was just too easy.
Yep.
And everybody's standing there looking like...
That's cheating, right? You
Yeah.
heard that a lot.
Well, then
that's cheating.
I
Yeah.
taught them, and I'd give it to them. Here, go ahead. There, see that line, you know?
Yeah.
They'd catch fish, and they'd run to the store.
Right.
You know?
Well, and that's one of the things too, is because with how technology has come to where it is, what you mentioned about the Vexilar want to be outlawed. At what point is it past? At what point would you get to like for hunting purposes? With me being more of a hunting side, trail cameras that send pictures right to your phone. All right, so now that that's kind of up in question. I kind of feel like, well, I'm out in a stand and I know that deer's there, and now that's starting to get past the point of fair chase. Can that happen with fishing, or is it completely different where that won't come about? Or
I don't think it'll come about. I mean, everybody adapts to that, and there's another level, and you gradually move up to that one. But
And
it does make you wonder.
I wholeheartedly think fish and wild game adapt to that too.
I do too.
You know what I mean? Like a
That's a good point.
deer kind of learns his patterns. Oh, that guy's been out there checking that camera. I'm not going to go that way now, or whatever. You know what I mean? And a fish, same thing. But you know what I find interesting today, you guys, is there's I don't know if it's Garmin, but there's something. It's electronics, and you put this. It's like side imaging. You put it down the hole.
Panoptics.
Panoptics. That's what it was called.
They have it here at the
They
show.
have it here at the show. Marine General sells it, and the guy said they were going to borrow it and go check it out and get back to me on how it worked. But the whole point of it is to locate fish in a basin area setting, and instead of drilling out holes and trying to find fish,
Yep.
drill a couple holes. They're over there, about 100 feet. Now let's go over there. I mean, that's like really pinpoint accurate.
And
So now
that's the
swinging your
latest.
Transducer will be old school.
Yeah,
Very
swinging.
bad.
Yeah, no more swinging transducers
Yeah.
because you got this Panoptix thing. It's side imaging for ice fishing. It's,
And I apologize, we didn't introduce you. What's your name?
Hey guys, it's Matt Brookman here, Tournament Panfish Pro for Northland Tackle.
All right, Matt Brookman. If you didn't catch that, he's here on the conversation too.
Just kind of listen, the young buck listening in on the old timer veterans here, enjoying every minute
wow,
of it.
there's only one veteran here. We're all
Yeah.
new still.
So that's what I was curious is that you can't predict what the future is going to be on the technology side of it, but you wonder.
Well, you
Where
talked
is it
about
going?
that though. What is it, the Panoptix?
Panoptix, yeah.
That was one. I thought of that. Talk about fair chase. When I saw that, I thought, wow. So that's the next.
That's a
big-
rep.
That's the next big thing that I was impressed with.
Sure.
It's almost scary.
Well, and they're very confident that it's going to work because the retail price point of that thing is really expensive. You know what I mean? It's not like a Vexlars for an FLX20. It's going to be around that $699.7. This thing's double that. I mean, it's about $1,400.
And they're going to sell them.
And I think they've already sold a couple, from what I understand.
Danny's right next to us. Danny Thompson's working it right next to us.
Is he? Oh, yeah.
They've been busy,
Yeah,
and he showed me it this morning. I mean, how you can side image
yeah,
and see what's instead of just directly below you,
yeah,
what's around you.
yeah. It's those guys that are out chasing crappies and perch on basins. I think it's going to be a pretty easy tool to use.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's similar to like the Humminbird 360, but at a smaller transducer level, just built
I think that,
easier.
yeah, I think it's kind of sort of like that.
big system that Humminbird.
I wouldn't
had.
know. I don't know what that is on my end.
It's kinda
He's a
like-
hunter.
Yeah.
I'm learning all
We
this.
hunt fish. Well, I tell everybody, I just got through with the deer season, and it was killing me because I was sitting in the stand, and these people are ice fishing, and I thought, well, I'm going to put my 2 weeks in. I went for 14 days straight, and it was just killing me. And then people were ice fishing, then the weather got warmer, and then I wasn't so nervous anymore. But
Hey, breaking news! I got one of our guides, Sherpa, up in Duluth, was about to go on Rice Lake, which is a reservoir north of Duluth, and just watched an ice skater go through the ice.
Oh no.
So more to come on that, but piggybacking off of what Greg just said, ice conditions are not real suitable as of today in Duluth and Superior. So
Wow.
Yep.
So Jared just had that come on his phone right now as we're sitting here.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's just too warm.
it's just too warm. I mean, this week it's supposed to get real cold, and maybe by next weekend we'll have some safer walkable conditions, but I wouldn't venture out in the next couple days. Not in my area anyway.
well, you mentioned on the hunting side of it, and this is a perspective again from a hunter looking at the fishing industry. Hunting, you get folks that get good at it. They, I don't know if you want to say master it, but then they get to a point where they drop everything. They stop using the compound bows. They stop using whatever. They go back to traditional archery
Yeah,
to make it a challenge.
full circle. Yeah.
Do
What do you
see
think? I'm going to go out there with jig sticks again?
Do you know anybody that they get to a point, or do you yourself get to a point where you're like, I'm sick of the technology, and I want to go do it the old way again? Or does that I haven't seen that yet on the fishing industry. So I'm curious if there's any professionals or folks that are out there that they just get worked up and tired, and they just want to go do it the old school way. As a, I guess you could say it's a little bit more of a challenge. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
you couldn't believe that you caught fish back in the day, but you did.
And we thought of that. We were going to have a get together where we just brought those old sticks, but
Yeah.
it would just kill me standing there.
If you like fishing without a Vexlar.
Oh. You know what? And I've told people I've driven a half hour from the house, and I thought, looking around the truck, there's no Vexlar. It's sitting at home on the Charger. Turn around, drive all the way back,
Yep.
and get it.
Yep. We've been
And
there.
it all depends on the lake.
Sure.
If it's deeper, you need it absolutely for sure. But if
Sure.
it's shallow, you could sit there without it, but it's not any fun at all.
Well, that's what I was curious. I wanted to know from you being in the industry for that long, if you have the itch, or if that ever comes, if that desire to go do it the old school way comes back.
No,
No,
no. I like success.
Yeah.
I understand.
Kind of hooked on that.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or talk about that you find interesting with just where we're at today and what's happening?
I just worry about the amount of kids that are getting involved. I hope there's more. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot.
Yeah, and they're practicing the safe habits. The whole social media craze has also affected the game as fishing. With public knowledge, learning lakes and stuff like that. But everybody drives to be the first on the ice, and ice fishing is a dangerous concept.
It is.
And kids is the perfect word. You get guys that see other guys that posted stuff that they were on the ice. Well, then that's just a snowball effect, and then guys get themselves in a pickle. So I think that's my biggest worry.
Yeah, Jared's right.
Yep.
I mean, it's scary.
Yep.
Social media, I mean, it's wide open.
Yep.
You can spread the word in a big way in a short amount of time. And
Yep.
Has social media burnt you at all with any of your spots, or
no,
or even magazine articles or stuff that you've done over the years? Have you ever put anything out there where you came back and you're like, shoot?
No, probably the only thing is, like Jared was talking, if I posted we were fishing too early, I mean, it was safe, but I know the lakes, I've been fishing them for 40, 50 years, I mean, and it was safe to go out there, but a lot of people think, well, hey, he's fishing, let's go to our lake, and they fall through, I thought I shouldn't have posted that.
Yeah.
Because people get a false sense of security.
Yep.
Right. People are waiting for others to do it, and then
Yeah.
they see others do it, and they think, must be fine where I'm at. Okay, well, I think we get back to some of our stations and get back to the show, but special thanks to Greg. Thank you very much
Thank you. It was fun.
for chatting with us and taking us a little bit down memory lane.
Memory lane, huh?
Yep. Interested to get a hold of you. Where can they find Greg, and what do they need to do to get in touch with you?
Well, if they're on the computer or if they're on Facebook, go to Fishing with Greg. I'm on there. I have updates every day. And or otherwise, they can just call me on my cell, 218-969-9147.
There, folks, go. There's the number for catching some fish and having a good time.
Thank you both as well for being able to
Thanks,
chime
Wes. Thanks, Greg.
Thank
Glad we
you,
could
guys.
come talk to you guys
Good
for a
to see
minute.
you
Yep.
guys.
in. Awesome.
Take care, guys.